So hello and welcome back to another episode of Scenes Force. Now today's going to be another shorter video. People are going to know me answer a question that was sent to me via Instagram from a follower, and they very simply asked me, well, how do I keep on top of maintaining all the cars in terms of I don't know when they're going to be MOT, how do I know when they're going to be serviced, how do I know when they're going to be tax insured. So there's two quite different answers. There's quite a simple answer. There's quite a complex answer, which will go a bit more in depth on how I know everything and why do I do certain things. Anyway, we'll go into that in a bit more detail, but the simple answer is I write everything down. I have a little table, so I keep in my computer, and basically across the top in all the rows, I call it columns rather, I put in which cars they are, so SL, SLK, B class, C class, figure out all that, put them across the top, and then down the side I have things like tax, insurance, service, MOT, that's those sort of things, and I just write in the middle what dates they all are. Now, I must admit, this way starts getting slightly complex. It's a bit of a. You sort of look at it, there's always dates randomly written down on the piece of paper. There's some return for next year, there's some for this year. So it does, when you go halfway through the year, and there's still stuff there's some stuff that's already been MOT and tax and service and all that. And there's some stuff for next year, there's also some stuff for 2027, which we'll go into in a minute. So it slightly boggles my mind. You first look at this paper, you've got all these dates on, how do you make sense of it? So you do have to I do have to sort of look at it and read through it. And I generally know in my own head when stuff needs doing, but it's always good to have it written down. I can just sort of refer to it and just go, yes, that's going to need a service and MOT next month, so I better start thinking about it. And it's worth noting that everything is different. Everything has different months. So every month is slightly different. So some cars need taxes certain months, some cars need MOT, and the next month might not be anything that needs doing. Next month there'll be another round of tax to do in a car, and there'll be another MOT, and there'll be insurance. So it can get quite difficult when you've got lots of different stuff going on in certain months and not anything going on in other months. Now, you could obviously try and get stuff done. So you have 1 month I'm having all my cars insured, 1 month I'm having all my cars MOT, next month I'm all insured. Which, yeah, I don't know how you quite do that. You'd have to get yourself sort of nine, wouldn't you, and how to do anything. Get the cars MOT'd for particular. I'd certainly get my car MOT in this date, regardless of whether it's got 6 months. Anyway, that's slightly complex. So we'll stick with the system I use and we'll break it down now. Let's talk about insurance now. Insurance is interesting because I use two different insurance companies. Esure for my B class, my daily driver, then the SL and yes, okay, both insured with Haggerty. So they are a different policy. It's obviously more of a classic car policy. I've put on there that I do have a daily driver, so these cars aren't out every day. I do, so that is my main car, my B class, which I've listed and put on there as well, so I can go and check their records if I need to. I don't know if all insurance going to link to this database. I've heard there's like an insurance database. Apparently, a lot of them can check up on each other now because I've changed policies a couple of times. I've changed policy. I've changed insurance company a few years back, and I didn't need to supply any claims. I did it all themselves. I thought it was really good. So whether they have access to their people system, not too sure. It all goes into one sort of central database. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But anyway, so insurance isn't too bad to remember because not only do I have it on my table, generally insurance companies will email me about a month or so before the policy is due up, and they'll be sending a renewal quote, and then obviously I can look into it and say, yes, okay, that's gone down. Like this car was £177 the first year I had it last year, was £157. So that actually came down. So thank you very much, Haggerty. That's because I've insured it with a year, and I've now got a year's no claims bonus. Which to be £157 I can't really argue with. Bearing in mind I get European breakdown cover with that as well, so that would be at least sort of £100 I imagine if I went buy a separate. So it tends to cost me nothing to insure this car really. But anyway, that's insurance. Now tax again, in the UK there's different levels of tax, there's different ways you can be taxed. So the C class, the Alpha I have at the moment, is still for sale. And also my partner C class have done the emissions. This car, which I'm in at the moment, the SL, the SLK, and the Figaro are done at engine size, so it's slightly complicated again. Obviously, next year this car will be tax exempt, but I still have to fill out some paperwork for it. I still have to tell the powers that be that I'm using this car, basically. You can either declare it SORN, which is a statutory off-road notification, or I can tax it. Those are the two options. Now, not just this car, for any cars on the road. You can tax it for 6 months or a year. I generally do a year, so I'm not having to remember to do it twice in a year. I just have to remember to do it once, so it makes it slightly easier. You also get a slightly different, slightly better rate if you tax it just once in the year as well. So I just generally tend to go for that. But yes, it's done on the engine side. I think it's 1,549cc and then 1,550 and above. So the Figaro pays a slightly lower weight. The SLK and this are the higher weights, they do pay the same. Interesting that a 1.6 Mazda MX-5 will pay the same amount of tax as this 3.8 litre V8. So yes, if it makes sense of that, please do let me know in the comments below. As with insurance, you will get sent out a letter to remind you that you need to tax your car, and then that will be a little code, and you actually put that code in online, brings up your details, and you just do the payments on there. You can also do a direct debit or do a car payment on there, whichever you prefer. So let's talk about service and MOT. Those two sort of go together quite nicely. So, well, at least for the daily drivers anyway. So we will get the daily drivers, B class and the C class, will get them serviced and MOT'd every year. So when they go down for their MOT and they need to go for the MOT, they'll also get a service as well, because they do enough mileage, in my opinion, to warrant getting serviced every year. I know the service intervals for the B class, because I'm a bit nerdy, I know the service interval of that particular engine are 13,500 miles. So generally I'll be doing probably up to sort of 7, 8 in that kind of sort of thing. I might as well get it done. I might do a little bit more depending on what I'm doing at the time. I only mileage, I've just changed jobs a few times, so I've been doing slightly different mileages, and it all sort of equals out anyway. But so anyway, I'll generally get done every year. Generally, the C class, that does about 10,000 miles, 10 to 12,000 miles a year. So that again probably warrants a service every year, to be honest. Now here's where the tricky part is, because I don't get the cars that live in the barns, so the Figaro, the SLK, and the SR. I don't get them serviced every single year and they have the MOT done. I generally will get them done every other year, purely because they just don't do the mileage, in my view, to warrant a service every single year. The SLK has probably done less than 1,000 miles since its last MOT, which is a bit of a crying shame. It should be about getting more use of that car, but that's another story for another day. Like the SL again, I don't think I've done more than 1,000 miles since I've actually bought this car, possibly. So again, I've had it serviced. I probably won't get it serviced now till next year. I think I got it done last year, so again, I won't get it done till next year. The Figaro has had a service this year, hadn't had a service for about 5 years according to the paperwork. So we had a big service done, we had the cam belt done, because that's due every 5 years in that car, and that sort of needed doing. So I probably won't get that service again until 2027 now, for another 2 years. So this is where my paperwork looks a bit strange, because I've got the Ascot needing a service this year, but the figure over there still doesn't need a service in 2 more years. So it's starting to get in the middle of the year now. It's going to start, things start getting quite complicated. And then you've also got to decide what else needs doing. My SLK hasn't had a gearbox service for absolutely ages. I couldn't actually find anything in the paperwork to say it's had a gearbox service. This year I'm deciding to go, when it's having a service and MOT, it's going to have a gearbox service as well. The Figaro had a cam belt change, cam belt and water pump change. That needs to be done every 5 years on that engine. Again, we couldn't see any evidence that had been done in the last, I think it was about 5 years ago. So that's about time that got done. We thought, as we've just got it, let's get it all done while we're having all the other work done. Let's get that car all done up, really, and let's get the maintenance all done. And then we don't have to think about anything else for another couple of years, really, in that car. So that's all done. And yes, that's what we generally need to do. There are services that you need to do, and there's also other things as well, other intervals like cam belts that you might need to think about doing as well. So I don't generally need to write those down. I just write down what it needs at the next service, and I'll just try and remember that he's had a cam belt this year. And then in 2030, which seems absolutely, well, it's years away, but it seems absolutely decades away to me. And we'll worry about that when you get there. But yes, I know 2030, I will need to get that car cam belt done again. So every 5 years, apparently, in that particular car. But okay, this is when it starts getting a bit more complicated. So hopefully that's put an answer to your question. There's 2 answers there for you, a very complicated one, and there's also quite an easy one there as well. So in essence, I just write everything down, but then it's quite hard to actually know what you're going to be doing next to the cars. And when you get to this middle point in the year, you've already taxed some cars for the year, you've insured some cars this year, you've also got some cars that will need taxing, insuring, and MOT. So it gets a little bit complicated, but as long as you keep updating your table as you go through and putting on what needs doing next, and if you've had a service, when's that car then need a service again. So come the weekend this week, I've got the Figaro SLK going. I've got the C-Class going now on Friday for service MOTs and all that sort of stuff. So I will update my piece of paper and update my little spreadsheet to say what needs doing when then. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a few more sort of boxes ticked off for this year at least anyway. We'll come to next year when we get there. So hopefully I've answered some questions or I've really confused you, one or the other. But anyway, regardless of what I've done, I've waffled on far too long. I'd love to know what you do if you have more than one car and how you keep on top of the maintenance and how you know what it needs doing, when's it need insurance, when's it need taxing, all that sort of stuff. Please let me know in the comments below. I know people use apps. I know people use calendars and stuff like that. And I've just gone for the keep it simple, stupid attitude of let's just put it on a table and then it's all there. Probably are better ways of doing it, to be honest, but I know it's all in one place then. And I can just bring it up on computer when I need to know something and just have a quick look, to be honest. So yeah, simple for me. But anyway, let me know in the comment below if you do something different. So thank you very much for letting me waffle on about that. Hopefully I've answered the question for you. So it's going to be goodbye from me, goodbye from the SL, which has just been used as a bit of a seat for me today, to be honest, and a chance for me to have a little chat to you guys. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.